Hi everybody, just doing a quick update on my tank. I don't know if you can see it, I've started doing some pin washing and some chipping. So basically it's a bit of distressing on the bodywork of the tank, so it looks like people have been climbing over it. Now this is using oil paints for the shading and then some acrylic paint for the chipping, is where you use a little sponge and you're basically doing like a little speckling effect on the edges that people would climb over. And it's very much you put a bit on, change your colour, you set a focus. So if you do it on the high points and the edges, where you imagine guys' boots and their webbing and that hits the paint and chips it off, and you just keep building up the scene. Now I've got my file and scraped all these cuts in here so they look like gas welding cuts, because this is flat steel on the model when it comes. So it's just a matter of doing a little bit at a time so you don't go mad and all of a sudden you think, shit, I've done too much. Because I want to do the winter wash camouflage on here, so I'm just doing a bit of basic chipping and shading on parts, so that when I do the whitewash over the top, I still got to paint a cut of. I painted the tow cables. Now I've got to put a silver wash on here to give it a little highlights and silver, and on all these little metal sections on here I'll do some dry brushing on there just to highlight the silver and whatever. I've got to paint that rod. I've got to paint the brass pieces on the gun cleaning rods. I have painted, you can't really see in this light, just about see it there. I have painted the wheels. I've got to do a wash on those, but I'm getting there. Because if you can remember, I've still got to finish painting my man. I can't get the skin tone. As you can see that he's in winter camouflage. I've got to paint his binoculars and everything. I have cut down my man to go inside as a signaler. Now I've got on order some magnets. Now I know a lot of people just stick a bit of Velcro to hold their men in, but my son's got some Warhammer stuff and he bought a second-hand tank with interchangeable weapons, and the guide fitted magnets so you can quickly chop and change your people out. So what I'm going to do is it's a bit difficult holding the camera. Yeah, so what I do is I'll fit a magnet in the bottom of there, I fit a magnet in there. I made a shelf to go across there on the printer. You can see the pattern of the print lines, and I'll put a magnet in there so when he's painted I can just drop him in, and I can whip him back out again if I want the hatch shut. I'm going to do the same for the commander. Now what I did get off the internet, I was looking at extending the cable for the charging lead, and I found this on the internet. They do this, just an extension cable for the amount of cells that I've got. So I'm just going to plug that into the battery and cut a hole in there and mount it very similar to the IR slot, and I'll mount that plug in there so I can just charge without having to open the bottom hatch up all the time. And then let me just take this off and show you the inside of the tank. Now quite luckily in there they have this little patch here that's just got a bit of sticky tape, and so you can just cut a hole in that, poke the cable through that, fit the extension lead on, and have it running up to the top cupola. I've just stuck some tape on here to label where all these terminals go back in, so I don't have to keep looking at the photo to put all the different colour plugs in. Yeah, so I printed that up on the printer and made a little extension piece, because when I cut this bloke off, he's dead. He was a little bit short, so he'll be stuck in there, and I'm going to do another platform on the other side, and I'm looking for another guy for the driver, or I'm going to have to get another one of these and cut his head off and have this as the driver, now this guy with his head at a different angle or something like that, because they're going to look too similar. Now these are the upgraded Pro gearboxes, sealed, because the old ones were open. I don't know why they've done that, what's the reason behind that. That's the single speaker. You can upgrade to a dual speaker. That is the focus. Now the new one is the 6.1S, I think, but in the instructions that came with this tank, it said they're very complicated, trying to remember all the things you have to carry a list around with you to tell you what's what. Now this is the new air pump, rather than this is the old pump. Give you a comparison. This is the one that had the piston that goes in and out to pump the air through. This is your smoke generator. So this is the bit that has a little bit of wadding in there and the electrics, and that thing used to go in and out, make a right racket. So now you've still got the same motor, but they've put a fan rather than a pump, and that's what the high pitch noise is. Now when you fill that with oil, and that's when you have to have it at 45 degrees, so the oil just runs back in. Now you've got to make sure, it's difficult because you don't want to overfill it and you don't want to let it dry out. Now when I first got the tank, that must have been filled to the top, because it says every time you run it for about an hour, you should put one drop of oil in there. And when I started it up, you could see the oil bubbling out, so it was obviously over full. So I'm due to put oil in it when I run it next time. But if you let it dry out, the capacitor burns out. If you overfill it, it can't get hot enough. So it's very basic, the tank, really. That's your battery compartment, which is on the opposite side. But this tank does have, if you can see that slot down the bottom there, it does have a adjustable rear idler, so you can tension the track. But you guys got to remember that this is plastic. Don't over tighten everything, because everything breaks. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. That was just a quick update on the weathering of the tank. It's the fun bit, really. I can't wait to get the airbrush out and I'll do a video on that. That's where you use I'm going to go for the hair lacquer approach, where you spray that on, then you airbrush your white on, and then you rub it off with water. So I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye.